Breaking news is shaking the football world right now. And if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or just someone who follows the NFL closely, this is one of those moments where you stop scrolling, turn up the volume, and really pay attention. Reports and heavy speculation are swirling that Steve Sarkisian has been named the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And whether this move is officially confirmed yet or still developing, the mere possibility alone has sent shockwaves across the league. This is not a small rumor. This is not a random name being thrown around. This is a seismic potential shift that could redefine the Cowboys' future, reshape the NFC landscape, and alter how the NFL views the pipeline between elite college football minds and professional franchises. Steve Sarkisian is not just another coach. He represents a philosophy, a system, a mindset. And if Dallas truly hands him the keys, it signals a bold, aggressive, win now approach from Jerry Jones that fans have been waiting for, arguing about, and sometimes even begging for over the past decade. Yeah. To understand why this story is exploding the way it is, you have to understand who Steve Sarkisian is and what he represents in modern football. Sarkisian has built a reputation as one of the sharpest defensive minds in the game, someone who understands quarterback development at an elite level, someone who adapts his system to personnel rather than forcing players into rigid schemes. His offenses are known for creativity, spacing, motion, timing, and putting quarterbacks in positions to succeed mentally as much as physically. That alone makes him an intriguing candidate for a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who have invested heavily in offensive talent, paid their quarterback top-tier money, and consistently found themselves just one step short of true championship contention. For years, Cowboys fans have watched talented rosters fall apart in critical moments, struggling with play calling, predictability, and an inability to adjust when games matter most. From the Cowboys' perspective, this potential move feels like a declaration. It feels like Jerry Jones saying that good is no longer good enough, that regular season wins without postseason success are no longer acceptable, and that the franchise is ready to take a calculated risk to chase greatness. Dallas has always been a team driven by star power, by headlines, by bold moves, and by a desire to remain the center of the NFL universe. Hiring someone like Steve Sarkisian fits that identity perfectly. It bridges the gap between innovation and experience, between college creativity and NFL discipline, and between long-term vision and immediate pressure. This would not be a safe hire. This would be a statement hire. Now let's talk about what this means for Dak Prescott, because make no mistake, if Sarkisian becomes the Cowboys head coach, Dak's career trajectory instantly changes. Sarkisian has a long history of working closely with quarterbacks, building offenses around their strengths, and maximizing efficiency rather than relying solely on raw athleticism. Under his system, quarterbacks are asked to read defenses quickly, make decisive throws, and trust timing and structure. For Dak, this could be the most important pairing of his career. It could be the difference between being remembered as a very good quarterback who never quite got over the hump and being remembered as a leader who finally broke through when the system around him evolved. At the same time, this partnership would come with immense pressure. There would be no excuses if the offense is designed specifically to help Dak succeed, and the results still fall short. The conversation around his legacy would become even louder and more unforgiving. The ripple effects of this potential hire go far beyond the quarterback position. The entire offensive roster would be impacted, from the running backs to the wide receivers to the tight ends. Sarkisian's system thrives on versatility, players who can line up in multiple positions, players who understand spacing, and players who can exploit mismatches. This could elevate certain players into starring roles while forcing others to adapt or risk being phased out. It could influence draft strategy, free agency decisions, and even contract negotiations. Suddenly, Dallas would not just be building a roster based on talent alone, but on fit, football IQ, and adaptability. That is a massive philosophical shift for a franchise that has often relied on star power and raw ability to carry the load. Around the league, other teams would be watching closely. If Dallas successfully brings in Sarkisian and the offense immediately shows improvement, it could spark a wider trend of NFL franchises looking more seriously at elite college coaches who have proven they can develop quarterbacks and modern offenses. The gap between college and pro football has been shrinking for years, with concepts flowing freely between the two levels. A successful transition by Sarkisian in Dallas would only accelerate that movement, making front offices more willing to think outside the traditional NFL coaching tree. On the flip side, if the experiment struggles, critics will point to it as another example of college success not translating to the professional game. Either way, the implications stretch far beyond one team. The fan reaction to this news has been intense, emotional, and deeply divided. Some Cowboys fans are thrilled at the possibility, seeing Sarkisian as a breath of fresh air, someone who can finally modernize the offense and out-scheme opponents instead of relying on talent alone. These fans see this as a bold gamble worth taking, especially after years of playoff disappointment. Other fans are far more cautious, questioning whether Sarkisian has enough NFL head coaching experience, whether the transition from college to the professional level is being underestimated, and whether Dallas is once again chasing headlines instead of stability. This divide reflects the larger identity crisis within the Cowboys fan base, torn between loyalty, frustration, hope, and skepticism. And inside the locker room, a move like this would send a powerful message. Coaching changes always reset the culture, but bringing in someone like Sarkisian would signal a shift toward accountability, preparation, and offensive excellence. Players would know immediately that the margin for error has narrowed, playbooks would change, roles would be redefined, competition would intensify. For veterans, this could feel like a final window to win. For younger players, it could be an opportunity to establish themselves under a coach who values development and adaptability. Culture is not built overnight, but high-profile hires accelerate change, and the Cowboys would feel that impact from day one. Of course, there are still many unanswered questions, and that uncertainty is part of why this story continues to grow. How quickly would Sarkisian transition from college to the NFL? Who would he bring with him as coordinators and position coaches? How much control would he truly have in a franchise where ownership has historically played an active role in decision-making? These are not small details. They are the factors that often determine whether a bold hire becomes a success story or a cautionary tale. Dallas is not a quiet market. It is not a patient fan base. The pressure would be immediate and relentless, and Sarkisian would have to navigate that reality from the moment he steps into the building. What makes this story so compelling is not just the potential hire itself, but what it represents about the current state of the NFL. The league is evolving, defenses are faster, schemes are more complex, the margin between winning and losing is thinner than ever. Teams that fail to innovate fall behind quickly. In that environment, standing still is not an option. Whether or not Steve Sarkisian ultimately becomes the Cowboys head coach, the fact that his name is being seriously discussed in this context tells us a lot about where the league is headed and what franchises believe they need to compete at the highest level. As this situation continues to develop, one thing is certain. The Dallas Cowboys are once again at the center of the football universe. Every move they make is scrutinized, debated, and magnified. If Sarkisian is officially named the new head coach, it will mark the beginning of a new era filled with optimism, pressure, and enormous expectations. If it turns out to be speculation that doesn't materialize, the conversation itself still exposes the hunger for change and the desire for something different within the organization. Either way, this story is far from over. For now, All eyes remain on Dallas, on Jerry Jones, on the coaching carousel, and on Steve Sarkisian himself. Football fans will continue to debate whether this is genius or madness, whether it represents innovation or risk, and whether it could finally be the move that pushes the Cowboys back to the top of the NFL mountain. One thing is guaranteed. If this hire becomes official, it will not be quiet. It will not be subtle, and it will not be forgotten anytime soon. The NFL thrives on moments like this, moments that spark conversation, controversy, and excitement. And this potential coaching move has all the ingredients to become one of the defining stories of the season. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if you love deep NFL analysis, and if you want to stay ahead of the biggest stories as they unfold, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let everyone know where you stand. Is Steve Sarkisian the right man to lead the Dallas Cowboys into the future? Or is this another high-risk gamble in a franchise